morning, guys.
Hi.
Very nice to be here with you. So if you don't mind just introducing yourselves and telling us who you are and where we are this morning.
Sure. I'm Jules Bagnato. I'm one of the co-founders with Dan of Brae here in Birregurra. We've been here for nearly 12 years. We actually moved to Birregurra about 12 years ago in a month or so.
Wow.
It's a tiny little town.
Yeah.
And we chose Birregurra because of its location. It's really close to the beach. We're only half an hour from the beach. We're about an hour and a half from Melbourne. Most of our guests come to us from Melbourne.
Okay.
So that was important for us. It's also a great community. So we wanted to be in a community that was really established in terms of people working together to create a community that was good for everyone who lived there. And this is really that type of community.
Absolutely.
It's also really got a lot of really good producers around who we were interested to work with as well. So it ticked all those boxes.
Amazing. That's a perfect intro for what we're here to talk about, to talk about the importance of restaurants in communities and what that role is. Dan, do you maybe want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, I'm Dan Hunter. I'm Jules's husband.
Most important part of the introduction.
So as you said, we've been here for 12 years. This is Brae, small restaurant, family business, situated in an area known as the Otways, the Otway hinterland. It's in Victoria, Australia.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's small restaurant in a small community, working closely with our team, obviously, but importantly working closely with people who work and live and exist in this region also, and then Greater Victoria and obviously Greater Australia after that. But mostly we try to work in a way that supports the people of this area.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that and what does that mean to sort of be situated in this community and supporting people of the area. So just driving in, I've noticed that you've got a lot of cattle ranching, or cattle farming and kind of rural community out here.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. What is the community at Brae? How do you guys interact with it?
I guess, I think one of the key things agriculturally of this region is it is a farming area.
Yeah.
And a lot of, let's say, traditional Australian farming since settlement. There's lots of smaller producers, lots of family businesses still. It's not a very industrialised area. There's no major infrastructure, so to speak. It's a very natural area where people farming in a very natural way also. So I think, specifically talking about the community of agriculture in this area, our neighbours are farmers. If we grow grain, if we grow wheat, we're contracting, our neighbours who have been growing crops and have a seed company for 2 generations here. If we're rotating a paddock and need some livestock on them, our immediate neighbour is running his sheep over it to provide the nutrient required for an organic system, So whether it be a small cheese maker using organic dairy from another local grower or, using heritage pork from someone doing regenerative practices just outside of Colac or free-range duck farms, this type of thing.
Well, in terms of the community, I think we consider those people, immediately around us, our community. Obviously, there's those closer contacts who are our staff and our guests that come to us every day, and those suppliers that we know who are local to us and supplying us daily. But there's also this feeling, I think, now after some time of understanding that our community goes beyond that as well, that our community is our wider hospitality industry, for example. It's the people who we communicate through our marketing, through our social media channels, who we're talking to daily and, telling our story to.
You've got that sort of layer of influence that's added to that as well.
Yeah. And then it goes beyond, you know, those suppliers perhaps that we don't know so well.
Yeah.
But we know that the purchases we make can influence the people who are related to that supply chain.
Yeah.
So over time, I think we did at the beginning understand our community to be what we see.
Yeah.
And over time, as our influence has grown and we understand more how people use the information that they hear about us,
right,
that has widened for us, and we have a different outlook on what that community is now as well. So with that massive purchasing power relative to what, you know, the footprint we have, we have both, I suppose, opportunity to have influence, but also responsibility to use that influence in a way that's with purpose.
Yeah.
And we can I think very easily just think, well, we're just going to go along and think about what we're serving for our guests and making sure our guests have a fantastic time every day.
Which we do.
Don't cut that out.
Which we is at the forefront.
Of course.
But it's done in a way that's...
Yeah, we have to consider all the other impacts.
No.
Because of the purchasing power and because of how many touch points we have in our communities. So, you know, we don't want to leave things worse off.
Right.
You know, we want to have a positive impact.
It's important just to keep that somewhere in your objectives. You know, like it's not like, it doesn't have to be a heavy weight or a burden, or like you're looking through, you know, you're ticking a checklist every single time you do something, but over time, with that understanding that that's how you function, it's just second nature. You know? So we're not going to treat this place in a certain way and then purchase from someone who we know doesn't
has the opposite of your values or something. Yeah.
I guess, But I think being a focal point, which we sort of are to some degree, and then bringing other people into that space, showing them what's possible, showing them that, you know, that values are still okay.
Yeah.
They're doing things in a decent way for both livestock, land, people is good. Yeah. You know, particularly at a time when potentially that's getting swept under the carpet a little bit. You know, I think it's that building that sense of community has value. You know, building that sense of community has seeing those suppliers. Let's go back to that, seeing them in your dining room. Yeah. You know, eating their product. And watching them have to leave to have a little cry, which is a truthful,
part of that
it's a truthful account.
Yeah.
You know, it's powerful. You know, it is powerful. And then, you know, or doing something. I mean, Jules annually has hosted a raffle, a fundraiser. You know, it's a raffle, but a fundraising project for various community projects in the town, or for education, the primary school or the kindergarten and things like that. So, you know, I think we highlighted the fact that, you know, our database, our circle of influence is large. Yeah. And using social media as a tool for that to advertise or to put on social media that we're doing this annual thing. And now that it's known that we do this annually, people are hanging out for it, and to win a huge experience at Brae, and now bringing other people from the region into that, you know, into that project. So each year the prizes are huge now. You know, that has a huge impact.
Yeah.
We raise a couple of $100,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, I understand that it's, you know, over kind of $200,000 that you guys have raised over time.
Raised, I think it's up to about $235,000.
It's really impressive.
Since we started. Yeah, we started that, I think it was 2017 we started doing raffles. And we just realised, you know, being part of a small community, it's a given that you need to do something for that small community.
That's right.
Tiny towns like ours, there are under 1,000 people here.
Wow.
We have a primary school, a small primary school of 100 kids.
Yeah.
It's really underfunded. Yeah. We have a small preschool centre and other little community centres as well.
Right.
For those to function, there's not enough people in the town to do it paid. You know, we have to all volunteer. And I think in the cities it's much easier to feel like you don't live in a community and you can just go to your school and you pay your school fees and you, you know, drop your kids off wherever they go and someone's doing the sports and someone's doing this and you don't think about the volunteers that
make it all run.
Happen. But it happens everywhere. It's just in the city that it's more hidden. In little towns, you know everyone, so you know what everyone contributes. This is how human beings are, you know,
and we need it, right?
Just the skill set, like it's you know, we don't just put food on the table and spend all day chopping chives, like, and we do that, but we're communicators, You know, our skill really is
storytelling.
We tell stories and we bring people together and we promote and communicate our values and the stories of others at the table. So all of that stuff is happening here anyway. And I think, you know, why not, when there's a need or a chance, take that chance to use those same skills for a little bit wider purpose. Just as, you know, and it's not, I don't know if we're talking about changing the world here. We're just talking about just a little bit more than what we do day to day, while still valuing that, you know, at high up on the list, but just using those skills in a way that's just does a bit more.
Talk to me a little bit about your staff and your team here, and how do you involve them in this sort of you know, ethos or conversation, you know?
Well, I think to go back to first the land, I think the idea of all this is really easy to communicate when you talk about regenerating land. And this is something that we do here. We take our 20 acres and we regenerate the land, make sure that we use composting and biodynamics and organics in a way that leaves the land better off than when we first had it. We're not just using the resource and taking it away and using it up. With our community and with our team as well, we hope to do the same thing, you know.
It's a powerful message, isn't it?
Generating whatever you use instead of just using your community, our people that we live with here in our town, and our team members as resources to be, you know, used until they're exhausted and have nothing left.
You're not just extracting their labour, you're
thinking about what
regeneration in that way.
What can be good for them. And this work with the community in a way is about that for the team as well. The team, I think, really value the work that we do with the community. They're proud of the work that we do. They're proud to work somewhere that does this.
If you have a team briefing and you know, you communicate the value of what the annual fundraiser did for a small community, you know, you see them light up. You know, like it's, and again, they've probably all bought a ticket. But again, as individuals, a $5 ticket
isn't the impact. You know, it's the cumulative of everything coming together.
$100 we've put together.
So we don't feel like it's something that we do on our own. We feel like it's something we do with our team, and we discuss with our team where these funds are going to go before we launch the next project. So at the moment we're looking at this year, and we've called on our team to contribute ideas.
Oh, that's cool. So they get to kind of propose to you a project or something that they might have seen.
Jules might speak with people in the community, find out
what's needed.
What's a key project that's underfunded at this moment, or something that's, you know, hasn't been completed because of, you know, lack of finance or whatever, and then bring it to
the team and see what they think. I'll ask for other ideas for either this year or next year. These sorts of things take time
of course.
To kind of think about and talk to lots of people and see what the impact is going to be. We choose things that are going to be impactful but are also going to be lasting.
So give me an example of some of the projects that you guys have worked on.
So over the years, we've worked really closely with the primary school, firstly, on their computer literacy program. So that was literally financing laptops for the kids. So that raised around $80,000, I think.
Wow.
Over a number of years.
Wow.
And then towards the end of our work with them, they had some building renovations they needed to do, and we had our last fundraising effort towards that.
Okay.
And that contributed to the landscaping for their new wing that they built at
Amazing.
the school. So that was really impactful. Last year, the preschool was doing a renovation. They needed a new roof and a new internal space as well.
Yeah.
So they're projects that we hope will have lasting benefit for the community, and that a lot of people in our community will be able to benefit from.
Right.
So not just, a one-off event or anything like that.
Right.
Actual infrastructure projects or education projects, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about things within the restaurant. And I know that you guys are doing some work on opportunities for staffing, how you're bringing in young people into the kitchen and the wider hospitality community, Dan, that you mentioned before. How does that work at Brae?
Well, suppose when we talk about, I guess, the hospitality industry as being our community, which it most certainly is, I think, there's been a lot of economic pressure, I guess, globally since COVID, and certainly in Australia and Victoria, we're certainly facing a pretty tough time at the moment, so at this moment, which is difficult. And it's like, I think restaurants and our industry is suffering a little bit, sort of feels like a time when people are probably pulling in all the extras and getting rid of them, and probably, trying to operate with quite minimal staffing, and just really, and to no fault of anyone's, just trying to make the industry sustain,
It's rough out there.
It's been tricky, but I think, and we're looking at, the pool of trained professionals in our country, and I think we've really suffered in Australia with the education system for hospitality. There hasn't been great, amazing apprentice systems or training or for some time. And really, again, no fault of the providers, just probably lack of funding from government, to be honest. So trying to work out ways, we're talking about this a little bit, and working out ways in which to still expose what happens at the best restaurants, you know, because it's expensive. It is. You can't deny the cost. The actual dollar sign is large, you know, 20 staff, everything's handmade, all those things, organic produce. So last year we started a program which was just a discount, basically, a 50% discount on menu and beverage for anyone who's registered as a hospitality apprentice or a front of house trainee in Australia.
Love that.
Which has been great. So, midweek, young kids coming in, or adults who are in a training system, coming in and basically having a chance to see what's going on, and it's been really great because it's been really well received by lots of restaurants, people getting in contact with us, sending their apprentices who probably wouldn't have had the chance to dine somewhere at this level previously, maybe. But interestingly, a lot of single people coming as well, like one diner, like a young 18-year-old kid or someone and their mum, or so bringing, just giving kids a chance to be inspired, to see that the hospitality industry isn't dying. It is good. It is worth in the work, because again, I think there's been a bit of, demonising of the industry as well over time. Some rightly, to be fair. But just giving. In this one instance, giving kids a chance to have a look what goes on and be treated nicely.
And you're showing them that it can be something different than maybe what, like you say, some of those rumors or correctly things that people, the past of hospitality and what life has been like in kitchen.
Things can be better. With a little bit of thinking and working with each other and thinking a little bit outside the space. It probably seems ridiculous to slash prices for people at this point in this economy, but where else are the are the teams of the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, along with that, we've really changed the way we work. I mean, this has happened a long time ago now, but when we first started, we were like every other restaurant. Open,
classic fine dining.
7 services a week over 5 days, and everyone was working a lot of hours. And over time, we realised this is not sustainable. This is not something, we don't want to work like this.
Right.
And we don't want our team to work like this. So it's been many years now that we've only operated in terms of having guests in 4 days a week and only from Wednesday to Saturday.
Wow.
So our team have a very balanced lifestyle.
Yeah.
We close for 2 holidays every year. So
Okay.
everyone has their annual leave every year, and it's a time where they don't have to put in for their annual leave and be accepted or rejected.
There's something really nice about like the whole team taking a rest at the same time.
It's completely different.
It's really powerful.
Such a disconnect, and for us, it's a disconnect as well. We don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And it just makes for a really good, like, kind of 2 halves of the year.
Yeah.
We work towards the break, and then we work towards the next break. And
Right.
it makes for really good work-life balance.
Yeah.
People have time with their families as well. You know, not working 1 weekend day is a real game changer.
Yeah. In a hospitality context, it's huge,
and I mean,
right?
I think,
Because people...
we're sort of looking at our older staff, like wanting to keep our leaders in the business for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And, so the younger guys have people to look up to.
Yeah.
They've had a career path. They speak positively about their experiences. They see these older people who've developed and have definitely a far greater skill set and understanding and context to, the big picture of restaurants. If they disappear from the industry, well, who's teaching?
Yeah.
Who's passing on? Where's the legacy? So we're looking at, people who are, in their 40s, early 40s, or want to have children and these things, and who have partners who may not be in our industry.
Right.
Like I think one of the things about hospitality, it's often been all-encompassing, and because of the difficulty of it, you end up with people from hospitality. And you just live in this
becomes
subculture.
quite insular in that way.
And that is insular. And that does breed this like inward looking and not bringing other people in, And so just, in the basic sense of community right there.
Yeah.
You want people to have other life experiences.
Yeah.
So I can't see my partner because we don't have a day off.
Right.
And I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a life.
No.
And you want women to be able to work in hospitality.
That's it, isn't it?
I mean, the reality
for a real
is,
career, for the longevity of their career.
That's right.
Which might, include building a family or however you might want to to do
so we
that.
need to be flexible. We don't want to be just this blokey culture of, work hard.
Yeah.
No life outside these 4 walls.
Yeah.
It's
try to build a model of a restaurant that is super equitable.
Yeah.
That is, a very fair and reasonable expectation of working hours.
Yeah.
With opening closing days. Having the broader community and the broader, like, your guests now understand that that's how it works.
Yeah.
I think that's the next step in this conversation. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think there's still a lot of pressure on, and again, cost of living pressures. I think it's there's still a lot of pressure on making things accessible from a price point.
Right.
And again, we need to have all levels functioning. Yeah. If we don't have all levels, we don't really have the industry that we need. Like we still need the training grounds. We still need the aspirational restaurants. We need the business that are aspirational.
It's whether or not you choose to live by some set of values that you've defined.
Yeah.
We have spent a lot of time over the years doing that work to define what our values are.
Right.
And really wanting to find a greater purpose to what we're doing other than just turning up to work to serve guests, which is a very noble cause.
Yeah, of course.
And it's something that, we've got a group of people here who love doing that.
Right.
But that isn't the be-all and end-all of life. There is, there's a reason to do that, and there is also profit that needs to be made in order to continue to do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
But the profit isn't the end game. The profit is
the tool.
Yeah.
The tool
You know.
to help you do something else.
Yeah.
So what is that something else? You know, what do you want that to be? And I think if you're going to have a successful life, talk about our purpose, our reason for existing as a business, it is not just to, you know, put the food on the plate. It is to leave things better. And when we say leave things better, we're talking about everything we've talked about. You know, it's our team, it's our town where we live, it's our land, it's the hospitality industry, and it's people along that supply chain, all the producers that we support. And it's about having an impact that is positive so that you can sleep at night. And you can be proud of what you do. You know? Like, I wouldn't be proud of what we do if we were the best restaurant in the world and made lots of profit, but along the way we didn't care about anybody.
If you had some advice or some wisdom to share to others that are looking at this, they're inspired by the work that you guys do, but they're also looking, you know, you talked about the pressures, Dan, and the P&L and day to day. Where do you start? Where's a good place for people to start to think about these things?
I think it's important to surround yourself as much as possible with other opinions. You know, I think it's really important to, in all restaurants, it's a wide group of people that work in a restaurant generally. Even the smallest restaurants, unless they're, you know, 6 seaters and one person. It's people that are coming from different parts of life. So, you know, bring people in to the story early and get some opinions on that.
I love that.
You know, and be aspirational. Like, I think it's good to, you may never achieve it, but if you don't put it out there, you know, if you put it out there and you achieve like 1%, well, you did something really good. You know, so I think it's important to be aspirational and, you know, particularly just know your place. Like, find out what's in your place and speak with your community, bring people in. You know, it's not transactional necessarily. Like, I think even in a kitchen, you know, sometimes it's like you're on the phone to a supplier, it's a person there. You know, their livelihood is, you're touching their livelihood. You know? And I think it's put so much care into guests sometimes, and they're one part of who we should be looking after. You know, your team, your suppliers, your growers, your farmers, all of those people, you know, I think just not to forget that it's a very human on human
industry, really is, isn't it?
You know, and I don't know, small business, it's becoming less and less in our industry, unfortunately. I think, well, hopefully not, but, you know, I think family business or businesses amongst friends or businesses owned by people with real struggles will find ways that can benefit the broader community.
I love that. And thank you so much. It was we could keep talking about these things for hours, I think. And I really value the experience that you guys have shared, and that sense, you can just feel that sense of collaboration from you guys, and the way that you think about, you know, you just said not transactional, the way that you think about community as collaborative, and, you know, that's so apparent when both of you guys are speaking. So thank you so much for chatting this morning.
Thanks for visiting.